No special offers on this one. Well, there's no Hammers Chat special offers. I'll tell you that one now. What we do have, though, is our little Premier League prediction game. Look, we're not going to muck around or pretend otherwise. The reason we're doing this game is in a hope that you'll download the app, which we're going to try and plug you during this video. As part of this video, we're going to be looking at 6 Premier League games, and we are going to be giving our opinions on the respective teams and also trying to give you a score prediction for each one. The 6-game prediction league does include West Ham United. It's obviously the Fulham v West Ham games. We're giving you our opinion on that. The reason we're doing so is because this video is sponsored by BetMGM. It's a betting app. You've probably heard it everywhere. You heard every time you switch on the radio, is hear Chris Rock promoting BetMGM. You hear it all the time. Now, you can use it as a betting app, but what they do actually have is a free-to-play prediction game with a top prize at £2 million. You get all these 6 predictions right on these 6 games we're going to go through, you win £2 million. But if you can only do half of that, you can get 3 of them right, which doesn't seem like a massive ask. Then there's a £5,000 prize pool. People have been winning it every single game week. So it's there for the taking. It's called Golden Goal. At the point where you sign up, and please do use the link below. I know you've come from Hammers Chat, and it'll really cheer us up massively, quite frankly. What they'll do is they'll ask you if you want to deposit. Just don't press deposit. Just go and click on the game that says Golden Goal. If you do want to deposit, as ever, look, it's 18 and above. Please bet responsibly. I was going to say respectably and responsibly. They never tell you that one, do they? They do actually have another offer on at the moment, which is if you put £10 deposit down, they give you £40 worth of free bets. Geo, you downloaded it, didn't you?
Yeah, I've got involved with it, but I bet, so
You do. If you don't bet, don't do it. We don't want to get anyone into trouble. I'm a pretty safe better. I bet about tuppence every. Actually, you can't do tuppence anymore. You have to bet 10 pence as a minimum bet, which I'm bit rich for my blood, Geo. The fixtures, my friend, the fixtures to take us through today are Brighton v Burnley, Manchester United v Bournemouth, Wolves v Nottingham Forest, Cooper's last game, apparently. Everton versus v Chelsea, that's interesting, actually. Fulham v West Ham, which we know all about, and Luton versus Manchester City. Geo, kick us off with Brighton v Burnley, please, mate.
Brighton are a difficult team to gauge at the minute. I think they've only won a couple of games since like the start of September or something, but they won their previous one, which was at home to Brentford. Team with a lot of injuries as well. Every time I watch them, someone else has got injured and someone else has returned. So it's difficult to keep up to date with Brighton's team news, if you like. But a good win. I think beating Brentford's a solid win. Burnley improved. Company's definitely tweaked his tactics.
What's he done?
He's just a bit more responsible, a bit more defensive. He's no longer playing like they're the best team in the league like they were last season in the Championship. He's now compromised a little bit, making it a little bit tighter, a bit more difficult to break down, and it's working for them. Although saying that, I don't think it'll work on Saturday. Ultimately, I think Brighton have the better players. I think the way Brighton play might actually suit Burnley, but I think the way Burnley's play might also suit Brighton. So I'm going to say 3-1 Brighton for this one.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with 2-0. The reason I'm writing this down is I haven't actually put it on the app as yet, so I need to remember what I've said. And after we've done this video, is do the app there. I think for the first time in the last couple of weeks, I watched Brighton and I felt that they've missed their midfield, who obviously they sold. Liverpool tried to buy the whole midfield, but as Liverpool should know, you can't buy anything off Brighton unless you're Chelsea. So, yeah, in the end, I do think that's sort of coming back to haunt them a little bit. Moving on to Manchester United v Bournemouth, which is something that I'm really interested in. I like what I've seen about Bournemouth, and I know I sound like a scratch record. I started saying it about halfway through last season. Gary O'Neill was in charge. The dynamic was slightly different, but they've got something about them now. The manner in which they sort of dispatched Crystal Palace was almost not the same as they have been playing though. It's his name Kiefer Moore, isn't it? The big fella.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he had a big role to play in that. But without him, they've actually been playing, irrespective of him, they've been playing some really, really interesting football, really pacey football. And I think they're dangerous. And I actually quite like what the manager's doing there. And I did ask the question earlier on in the season. I wonder if Bournemouth regret letting Gary O'Neill go and what's happening with him at Wolves. Bearing in mind they clearly a club with a long-term plan, I'm not sure they actually will. It really looks like they're going places. I think not to the top of the league, or probably not too far from Bournemouth actually. But Man United, a bit of a weird one there, has to be said. In good form, really good form. I think more was made of their win over Chelsea than should have been. I think there were two weird clubs facing each other, Man U against Chelsea. Ten Hag, I think they're baby steps. I think that the club as a whole is going to improve because Jim Ratcliffe. I don't think Bournemouth can go up there and win. I think Man United are going to keep their win going and almost go from a place of crisis to some pretty damn good form. I'm actually going to go with I don't know why I'm saying this, a 1-0 Man U win.
Well, man, you've got a hat trick. They've just won all the awards for the month last month. Ten Hag Manager of the Month, Harry Maguire Player of the Month, and Garnacho with Goal of the Month. Unsurprisingly for that one, and they just keep winning. But I've seen a lot of Man United, and I have to say, bar against Chelsea, I thought they were impressive against Chelsea. Previously, I've not been impressed by them. Their win against Everton, for example, they scored 3. They didn't even look that good. I'm not even sure that they were really that much of a better side than what Everton were, just that they took their chances. I think eventually they're going to slip up eventually. I feel like their performances deserve a defeat, and I think this is it. I'm going to say Man U 1, Bournemouth 2. I've been impressed by Bournemouth, and I think this is what you do. What's Bournemouth going to achieve in the Premier League? They're not going to get into European football. Are they ever going to have the budget to compete at the top of the Premier League? No. So what's the next best thing? Well, stay in the Premier League. All right. Now, how are you going to do that? Well, make it entertaining, make it enjoyable to watch. Because when you're just grinding out results to just stay in the Premier League, it's all a bit boring. There's a lack of ambition everywhere there. So I think what Bournemouth have decided, or what it feels like outside looking in, is that we can just stay in the Premier League, but enjoy ourselves while we do it. That is a success, and I would agree with it. And that's exactly what they're on course to do. And I think they're going to get a win. I think Solanke's in great form. And I just got, don't know, just a feeling. 2-1 Bournemouth.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tight as well. Wolves versus Forest. End of the road for Steve Cooper. Do you not think, Geo? They said there's one more game. I heard actually that their owner threw a tantrum. You heard that he'd thrown something in a bush, and I think they're probably both things are true. Maybe the tantrum was by the bush, and it happened. Last game, one game, he has to win it, must-win game for Forest. Steve Cooper was absolutely delighted with the Forest fans. Said he was embarrassed. Forest fans, the away fans, kept on singing his name when he got dumped by Fulham, obviously our next opponents. Last game, I can only see a Wolves win here. They looks to me like the team aren't playing for him anymore.
2-0 Wolves on this one. I think Wolves are quite clinical at the minute. Juan keeps scoring. Cunha's looking good. O'Neill's got them well drilled, playing them how he wants to play them. Good attacking football. Nottingham Forest are horrific on the road since the start of last season. I think sometimes when a manager gets to this point where it just feels inevitable, and it just feels inevitable that this is Cooper's last game. If not, it won't be far away. He might get a draw out of this one and kick the can down the road and just stay a couple of weeks longer. The thing is, despite how bad it is, I think they could possibly keep Cooper, and he does pretty poor, and they still stay up. But that's why I think it's possibly the right time to call it a day if they feel that's the direction they want to go in, because the new manager would come in, have the rest of the season, and as long as they're okay as a manager, they'll stay up. But I still think Lopetegui, while we're talking about betting, etc., I think Lopetegui is the next Forest manager, is my bet. I'll be looking for the odds immediately once Cooper's dismissed, and I expect that'll happen on Saturday night. 2-0 Wolves.
Yeah, get a 2-0 for me as well. Get Gibbs White out that wide position. I'd certainly be looking to do that. Everton v Chelsea. I find myself sometimes jealous of other Premier League football clubs, and but only realistically, if that makes any sense. I'm not jealous of Manchester City for having Erling Haaland, because I know there's no way we could have had him, right? But I find myself jealous that Aston Villa got Unai Emery. All right, I've got to say, there's a little bit of jealousy there, because I think do you remember there was that? It wasn't El Sacchio or whatever it's called, right? But it was Gerrard against Moyes, and he
It
felt
was
whoever
El
lost.
Sacchio. It was El Sacchio.
I thought El Secchio was the Lampard one at Everton.
I don't know. Don't
Anyway,
know.
there was two Secchios, and anyway, whoever lost was going to need a new manager. They lost, and they got Emery. So I was a bit jealous. Listen, I've got another jealous thing, Gio. Cole Palmer.
Okay, I thought you were talking about managers here. I was like, what on earth are you waiting to
Yeah,
say
where's he
next?
going?
Yeah,
Where's he going
yeah,
with this? Cole Palmer.
yeah, yeah.
I don't even know. I loved that goal he scored.
All right then. Well, would you swap him for Kudus? Because
No.
my argument would be if we got Palmer, we wouldn't have got Kudus.
Yeah, okay. You're just trying to make me feel better. I'm thinking Kudus plays in Paqueta's position, and then Paqueta goes
I
to
have
Man
three
City.
right wingers.
Sorry.
Well, that's essentially what you'd probably have if you had Kudus, Palmer, and Bowen. That's three players that.
I like him. Anyway, I'm slightly jealous. There was something really nice about his goal, even though it's sort of p-rollered in as a trickle to it. But anyway, so Chelsea. I think Everton are going to beat Chelsea. I think they. I think they're going to beat them 2-0. Actually, despite all the lovely things I just said about Cole Palmer, I think Everton are a club with a bee in their bonnet. They're no longer in the relegation zone. I think they've done really well. If there's any Alec Ferguson used to always try and engineer a scenario where he was affronted and disgusted, and it was the world against Manchester United. I mean, the Premier League just managed to do all of Sean Dyche's work for him. I mean, that's a heavily motivated team. Chelsea just weird. I think I know it's unlikely, but I think Everton 2, Chelsea 0.
I've got an Everton 1, Chelsea 0. I'm just not impressed by Chelsea. I haven't been for some time. They've got the better team. To some extent, you could argue as to which one is the better manager, but I think Dyche is better suited to Everton than what Pochettino would be, for example. But a good win for Everton against a very poor Newcastle performing side during the week. But yeah, I think Everton have got that bit of grit about them, and I think that'll be Chelsea's undoing. And Pochettino was wonderful at Spurs. I didn't really pay much attention to him when he left Tottenham in regards to what he went and done. But some of the stuff he's doing at Chelsea is just wild. Like he went to Old Trafford and played Cucurella right back when he had Reece James sat on the bench. And it's just stuff like that. It just doesn't make sense. What are you doing? Why are you doing strange things like that? Why are you trying to come up with something that, if it worked, it'd be like a genius thing to do? It's almost like he's trying to outdo Pep Guardiola.
For the sake of it.
Yeah,
For the sake of it. Yeah.
Cucurella at right back is just absolutely bonkers. There's no reasoning behind it, especially when you've got Reece James. I don't even know if Gusto was available as well, but strange. 1-0 Everton.
Fulham v West Ham. We've obviously covered this in our preview. I'm assuming you've all gone and watched the preview. If not, go and watch that. You'll get it in a lot more detail. I think I said 2-0 in that one. So there's no point of spending any time on it. But obviously Fulham showed us how it should be done against Palace, Gio.
Yeah, 2-1 West Ham for me. I think we'll get the job done.
Okay. Finally, I was going to say last but definitely least, is a Luton against Man City. Clearly a win for Luton. And this one, an out of form Manchester City. What's going on there, Gio, at Man City? I'm joking. I don't think Luton are going to win, but yeah, what do you think's going on at Man City?
I don't know.
No Rodri in the last game.
Yeah, that was one of the big parts. I think they've lost the last 4 games in the Premier League without Rodri now, so he's a pivotal player. But we knew this. But then this is why a lot of West Ham fans thought, why would Man City not want Declan Rice? Well, if they had him, then he would have made a big difference during the week, and he could have played alongside Rodri, and you'd have stopped Arsenal from improving the way they have as well. So
gloating. And Arsenal gloating, we'd hear less of Arsenal, which has got to be a good thing.
So it seems a little bit of an error. It sounds a bit mental saying you've messed up by not buying a £105 million player. I genuinely feel that way about Man City. The more I watch them, the more I think they should have come in for Declan Rice. But yeah, it's just gone a little bit bland for them, hasn't it? A few players missing, but I can't see anything other than the Manchester City win on Sunday. And the thing is, though, City turn it on in the new year. They always turn it on in the new year. De Bruyne was not far back from returning, so they'll be up there in the title race. But I'm actually glad they're struggling because we have a title race. I don't want this thing over. Ideally, maybe I'd prefer Man City to win the league come May, but can we at least have a little bit of something going on between now and May, please? And that's exactly what we've got. I mean, it's so much while that Aston Villa are above them in the league at the minute, and I absolutely love it. But I do think it'd be a bit too much for Luton. Saying that, I tell you what, they can take a lot of confidence, despite losing to Arsenal, can take a lot of confidence out of that game, and they'll make it difficult for Man City. So I'm going to say 3-0 Man City, but I think it'll be one of those games where the scoreline is perhaps a little bit. It suggests it was all one easy street in one way, but I don't think it'll be a case of that. I think they'll have to work for it.
Yeah, I've got 3-1 Man City, but just actually quickly before we go, out of the teams, and you have to include Aston Villa in this, and I think you're going to have to exclude Newcastle because of the points. Who would be your preferred Premier League winner?
Liverpool.
Okay. Least likely. Do I need least likely to win?
Man City. I know why you don't want Arsenal to win. I get it. I do, but I just want competitiveness. I just want a bit of change back into the Premier League, and So that's probably how I'd like it to go.
Well, as Geo alluded to, the team I would least like to see would be Arsenal because.
Well, who would you most want to see?
Well, Aston Villa. Aston Villa. I'd love Aston Villa to win it. I really would.
It'd be a good story, but I don't think
story.
I'd cope with the jealousy.
I know it would be, but I wonder if that might kickstart things, and it would be nothing would be like holding a mirror up to the West Ham ownership's face, like look at how well this club have done, and I would say club, or club as Rafa Benitez would say, look how well they've done. Yes,
why not?
That's what I was watching a video the other day, and he was saying club and hat. Obviously, hat club.
Anyway,
he just goes very high when he says hat and club.
How do you think he says?
Good reason not to get him.
How do you think he says? Play golden goals.
Golden goals. Very hard to play. You choose 6 clubs.
Are you finished now?
I think so. Yeah,
it's quite a good impression. I'll give you that.
Download the golden goals, please. It will help us this Christmas. Bless you, Governor, please. Right, we're going. We'll catch you later. Cheers, Geo.